Solidity code, for example, just works right off the box. And that is so powerful because you don't have to make changes in a lot of ways. For example, in certain different approaches, you have to install a plugin in your hardware environment, for example. You don't have to do that if you want to deploy a smart contract on Polygon zkVM. And that is because for Polygon zkVM, this product or this blockchain solution per se, we want it to be empowering. And we think that when it comes to the experience of a developer experience building on Ethereum, on current EVM chains, is already very mature. And it has reached this point where a lot of people start learning it and a lot of people are already masters at it. We want to keep that innovation going without any friction, right? So we wanted the experience to be as close as possible, in fact, the same in this case. And that is why we took this approach when it comes to the Polygon zkVM project. And that's so important because you think about it, you actually save a lot of time, you save a lot in audit, and essentially save a lot in cost because, again, I mentioned the tools, the infrastructure, and the code just works right off the box. And that is so powerful. For example, you can take a smart contract on Ethereum today and just change the chain and just deploy on Polygon zkVM. It's that simple. And that is the approach we take. We're building towards type 2. And that is why there's no real big differences. And we want to keep it that way.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel. As a builder, I think that approach is very sounds very awesome for us because we don't have to change a lot of code base for the incompatibility. For those who are not familiar with these 4 types of zkEVM, so the type 1 is the most closest one to Ethereum EVM itself. So type 2 is I think it's EVM equivalent, right? So it's very good already. So yeah, I'm very excited to see that Polygon taking this approach. Maybe we have to prioritize between the compatibility versus speed or something. But I think this vision and approach should be very good for builders. All right. So for the second question.
Just wanted to, I think you mentioned a really interesting point. Just wanted to add a little bit on that. So you mentioned a little bit about speed and all. The key thing to understand right now is Polygon zkVM is still at its early stages, where it's at mainnet beta. We ship a insanely performant prover. However, a lot of the parts we're still improving it. That's why we call it beta, right? We're still improving, and people can expect a lot of improvements along the way. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. Super excited to go on this journey with all the developers.
All right, I see. So Polygon zkVM is open source, right?
Yeah, it's open source. You can check out the code. Everyone should check out the code. Yeah.
All right. So relevant to the speed, so I just want to ask how efficient it is when comparing Polygon zkVM versus other zkVM or rollup solution like decasing era or stacknet or linear. Why should a developer choose Polygon zkVM over other alternatives?
Yeah, great question. However, we can't really comment on efficiency yet because some of them are not really making things public here and there. So what I would rather frame this as what would make it comfortable for developers to build on. For example, the ecosystem support. Are you getting that? The robust ecosystem that not just of your DApp, right? For example, you have a DApp. There's a lot to think about here. It's not just your DApp. Sometimes you need liquidity. For example, if you're building a DeFi space, you can't stand alone with a product that has no liquidity in the ecosystem, for example. So these are some of the things that we have, that Polygon have put a lot of hard work in. You can see that when it comes to the Ethereum DApps on POS, they're on Polygon, gaining a lot of TVL, for example, then the ecosystem is robust. When slowly people who think that zkVM is a better option, they'll move over, and you can expect the kind of ecosystem that's there to support you because you're not going to be building alone. That will be how I will frame it, rather than just looking at just efficiency, because we can't really compare that right now. There are
I see.
different approaches sometimes, and some of them they are not making things public, so it's very hard to really comment on other people. What I can comment on is our team's commitment to builders, and I think that's super important from our. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely agree with you. There's a lot of like factors and things that we need to consider when we like picking any solution. So yeah, I agree with you. So I would like to ask another question because DKVM is a new like products from Polygon Labs, but like we all know that you guys are having both Polygon POS sidechain and also the Polygon zkVM recently layer 2. So both are the scalable solution for Ethereum. So I'm wondering if there's any connection between these two projects. Is it interoperable somehow in the future? If you can share with us any roadmap for it, that would be very appreciated.
That's a great question. I think so. Right now, there are two separate solutions as of today. However, because we've invested, I think from Polygon Labs' point of view, we've invested a lot into zero knowledge, and we do think we're super bullish in the zero knowledge future, ZK future. So of course, as far as I know, as far as the team knows, the GigaBrain part of the team, which is the product side of the teams, they are amazing people, are researching ways on how to include some of what we learned about ZK into the POS stack. And that is hopefully gonna happen in the future, but we never know for sure, right? We're in this space that's moving so quickly. But the good thing about, I think, it's evident that Polygon is evolving, Polygon is learning, and Polygon is improving. And while we have all these learnings from the ZK side, we'll definitely look into how this can contribute to make POS a little bit better, and how we can kind of hold things together in the future. But I guess that's where we're at right now. But right now, there are two separate solutions as of today. I hope
see.
that.
Yeah, and that answered my question. But like aside from the technical point of view, I'm asking more about like Matic token. Is it play any role in the Polygon ZK EVM, or just use Ethereum as a fee?
So definitely. Right now, Polygon zkVM, because it's like a true layer 2 rollup, gas is in ETH, so everybody knows that, right? However, you still use Matic to stake for staking purposes.
I see.
Yeah.
Got it. So like for like Polygon ZK EVM node or a sequencer or aggregator, maybe they need the Matic to functioning, right?
Yes.
I
So
see.
that value accrues to the Matic token.
Okay, interesting. That's the few questions from myself. So let me take a look at the communities if there's any question. So you guys, if you have anyone, just paste them in the Twitter thread. The first one is there's one person asking what are the key features of Polygon ZK EVM, and what are the similarities and differences compared to standard EVM? Are smart contracts running on EVM fully compatible with ZK EVM and can be deployed work smoothly without any or with minimal modifications?
Yeah, I think we sort of covered this a
Mm.
little bit now, but just to reiterate, I think those are very great questions. If you take a step back of like what Polygon zkVM is, right? It's essentially a ZK rollup that is striving to be EVM equivalent. And when it comes to that, means that from a developer point of view, the developer experience wise, right? There's no real change to your experience. You can use your favorite tools. You can use your favorite code, like code that you've written, for example, an environment you have. Just change the chain you deploy, and but what you get is because it's a rollup, you inherit the security 100% from Ethereum, for number one, and you pay cheaper gas fees for your needs because it's computation is moved off chain in a layer two, on layer two, and you still pay gas with ETH. So if you look at it, there is the reason why we did all this zkVM innovation is to empower all that. So that is still the same experience for a developer. Back to your question, there's not a lot of differences when it comes to a developer wanting to deploy a contract, smart contract on the chain.
Yeah, I see. So like from your answer previously about the type 2 DKVM, I think you guys developer can can use almost the same tool set and environment, and like almost can run smoothly without any big modification when you're running in a
Yep.
type 2 ZK EVM.
Just to expand on that a little bit, we are building towards type 2, so we're almost there, but there are
Mm,
just some minor stuff that we have to take care of, which should be relatively soon, but we're building towards type 2.
I see. Yeah. Another question from the communities, because in at least in Vietnam there are like many gaming and GameFi and metaverse projects. So this one is about that. How does Polygon support Web3 gaming?
Yeah, well, we do have a different ton of resources and ecosystem support. I guess it also depends on what kind of gaming. I'm sure you realize that Polygon Labs has been huge in gaming as well. Obviously, super bullish Vietnam and Vietnam developers and the gaming scene. Um, when it comes to support, there's a lot of ways. First, I can think of is we do have an amazing business development BD teams that if you're building on Polygon, working on something, do reach out. We try our best. Of course, we're imperfect. We can't like help every single thing because we just simply don't have enough people and enough resources. But we're super happy to stand behind you and be like, if you have anything specific you need to connect to any ecosystem partners that we, as long as we can help, that's within our power. Our BD teams are there to help always, right? Just reach out. I'm sure you've met some of the Polygon team members here and there, or you can just send a DM to me, for example. We'll figure out a way to help you, because when it comes to gaming, it's a really interesting vertical, and there's a lot of moving parts. Aside from the on-chain part, which we can probably advise and help a little bit, there's also the game part, which is like a ton of stuff we can learn from each other. We do have a community to support, and I think you recently see that. Just reach out on Twitter if you see any Polygon Labs BD people. That will be a way, which is business development help. And also, I would love to recommend that always be aware of what our developer relations team are launching, because some of these could be really interesting. Like, um, sorry to go back to the same topic, which is the hackathon we're currently doing, for example. We do have, if you think about it, we do have more than 120 over 1,000 US dollars of cash prizes and prizes for you to
Wow.
be won. Right. So yeah, if you're building an early stage project, winning a couple of these bounties add up could become essentially a pre-seed funding, for example, and that could be infinitely valuable. And also, when it comes to like right now, APAC, I'm the Apac guy. I'm super bullish. I think I told Nicole a couple of times that when it comes to developer communities, when it comes to building stuff, heads down, hardworking, highly talented technical people, Southeast Asia, a lot of these places have amazing, amazing talent. So when we do something like a APAC Focus Hackathon, which is happening today, right now, it's ending end of this month, 21st of May, for example. The goal here is to bring not just money. I think we mentioned about the 120,000, over 120,000 cash prizes, but that's also the support because we're looking for top 5 to top 10 teams that we can nurture and support along the way. You mentioned about gaming. I would say it's beyond gaming, just gaming, beyond just gaming. Sorry. Um, any project that is interesting, we would love to help. Right? It could be in DeFi, it could be in specific real assets, NFTs, for example, NFT utility use cases, right? Or gaming, like exciting gaming, different innovation in terms of the on-chain element, or even different innovation when it comes to making the game actually super fun. Those are the kind of stuff we want to support, and we're looking for like the top 5 to top 10 teams to really hold their hand if you may, and help them along the way. I think this hackathon, which I pinned on my profile top, is going to be super useful. Since you mentioned about support, I think it's going to be super useful because it's not just a traditional hackathon per se, but we're looking for the next killer DApp. I think I love this Twitter space title a lot, which is we need the next killer DApp to bring in the next billion or more users. Not just one, we need multiple. So we're looking for the first few. And for Polygons, from Polygon Labs' point of view, once we look for one, we try our best to support them in all ways to help. It could be all kinds of support, all kinds of connecting to ecosystem partners. I hope that answers your question. It's a bit lengthy, but I hope I covered that. It's not just about any specific vertical. Obviously, we're super bullish on gaming. If you don't realize, just go to any on Twitter accounts. You'll see all kinds of gaming, exciting deals, exciting announcements, and obviously, who doesn't like? Everybody plays games, right? So that is a
Yeah.
super big element that we're really focusing on. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right, and you're not just answer the question for the like gaming builders, but like other builders like DeFi and NFT and everyone. So I myself builder too, so I'm very excited to like submit an application and joining the hackathon, and I'm highly recommend other builders to do the same, because not just about the cash 150K is that a lot for an early stage projects, but you can shout out to the foundation and you can shout out to the community so other people will know about the projects. And of course, you will have a lot of support from the Polygon team as well. About this one, and not just the foundation, and I think every crypto project needs to be accepted and adopted by a large community to make a relatively significant impact. So on our side, Sotatek, we are building a builder community named ABC Station to create a vibrant group of builder and developers with Apac Dao as well. So like about this one, ABC stands for Asian Builder Community. So what we do in building and what we do in ABC Station is to open a highly quality background for everyone who expect to build anything utilizing blockchain tech to join connect. So like blockchain space is nothing without pioneers who have guts to break the limitation and do something innovative, right? So relative to this one, how about Polygon zkEVM? What is the biggest plan to make zkEVM tech to be massively adopted beside the airdrop campaign? I know that hackathon is the one, but any other plan as well?
Yeah, I think if I understand your question right, is that how do you plan to boost up the zkVM ecosystem?
Yeah, that's why, and also focus on a community in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So the cool part is that we, as Polygon Labs point of view, we provide you with options. There's the POS option, there's the zkVM option. Both are still improved. However, it depends on the needs of the project. For example, if you potentially need super high security, inherit 100% security from Ethereum, for example, and you need like slightly lower gas fees than Ethereum, for example, a DeFi protocol that needs to rely heavily on the security side of things, Polygon CKVM is a great option, right? But what we do is that we boost the whole Polygon ecosystem in general. And then we give the option, the power to choose to the developers, to the builders, to the founders. And that is very important in my point of view, because we're not going to help people decide which chain, in this case, where they want to deploy on, right? What we can do is that we are clear on the value proposition on what POS is today, what ZKVM is today. For example, it's still a relatively blue ocean in ZKVM if you want to build a certain protocol that could be already very mature in the POS ecosystem right now, right? And that could be an opportunity for some developers to build. And we give that option, and developers make the decision. And that's how, and while we focus on growing the whole ecosystem, because to be honest, we look at it as we're so early. I believe, Phuc, you kind of agree that Web3 is so small in the grand scheme, right?
Totally.
Totally. I think, like, compared to whatever solution out there, we're just so tiny. We're literally a piece of sand in the world of giants, right? And what we need to do here is grow the pie, grow the whole Web3 scene. And from you can see our commitment to really growing, like bringing in Web2 friends, for example. People like
Yeah.
Starbucks. We need more friends. We bring in Starbucks, we bring in Reddit, and we also try to get more like Web2 developers to join us. We need to be able to equip them with the skills. We need to be able to talk to them in their language, for example. And then beyond crypto Twitter, beyond CT, for example, what are we doing on the ground? Or what? That's why I love working with different local communities. For example, I'm 100% gonna hit you up after this, talk about like how to help builders in the couple of organizations you mentioned just now, because we need to look beyond the bubble of CT. I believe you agree with that. We
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
grow
definitely.
the talent pool, grow high quality founders, high quality developers, and then grow the ecosystem in general, right? Because honestly, when they jump into the ship, like for me and you, I believe we have we came from somewhere. We didn't like born with Web3, right? Web3 is like the past few years. And then once we got into it, we just stuck in the ecosystem. And that's what we want for more people. And once we grow the ecosystem pie, definitely while we provide the options, so Polygon POS grows, Polygon CKVM grows, everybody grows in the space. That is the goal, and that is the vision we're really pushing for.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, you're right. I think like most of it coming from Web 2, and comparing to Web 3, Web 2 is the ocean is like a lot more red compared to the blue ocean that we are having here. Not counting that like solution like Layer 2 ZK EVM is very new. So even for the DApp builders like us, there are a lot of things that we can do in this new space. So just explore, guys. Now, about this one, there's a new question coming in space from a Twitter user. Like what this question might be can come from your personal perspective, or if Polygon Foundation prefer anything, just let us know. So, what do you think of what will be the next big narrative, like social fi or anything, and that you gonna prepare for it?
That is a very interesting point. So I I this is not like Polygon's point of view, right? Obviously, like we're a big team, different people have different point of views.
Yeah.
Uh, when you talk about the next big narrative, what I would counter is that nobody really knows.
Okay.
However, we
That's
look
true.
at,
That's true.
yeah, nobody really knows for sure. For example, right? However, there are certainly some interesting verticals that all of us are excited about, you and me could potentially relate more to. I think that's like two main things, which is number one, that's a big enough market, and number two, that's a big enough problem. Definitely agree that just now you mentioned a couple of those. SocialFi, I think real world assets is another.
Yeah.
We look at it because you talk about like social has a big problem when you move things on chain. For example, on Polygon, you can feel like the differences Lens Protocol is making as a social graph, empowering a different uh, aspect, dynamic of social that has never been done before. And on top of that, you can build like building blocks. So this is the cool part about blockchain and Web3, in my personal opinion, right? All this is just my personal opinion, is that the cool part about moving things on chain sometimes is allows you to build building blocks, right? You look at, for example, SocialFi, which is a great example you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have Lens as a social graph, and then you look at a lot of like third-party um, apps built on top. Talk about Favor, Lenster, and all these different apps, or for example, building on top of those. And then you think about the possibilities. For example, monetization wise, that is not limited to Web2. For example, Facebook dominates all the ads. They just take the big pie and just give the creators a very small amount. But here, because it's all transparent, it's all on chain, it opens a different kind of dynamic for you to kind of create amazing, for example, direct P2P uh, payments that if you collect this, if you retweet this, you can get like 5 Matic, 10 Matic, for example. Not sure if anyone has tried Lens here. Lens here is that it creates that kind of different dynamics. And SocialFi definitely very interesting because with things on chain now you can try, and that the possibilities are literally endless. And when you mentioned the two things I mentioned, right? Is it a big enough market? Everybody uses social media, right? Me and you. My mom
Yeah.
uses social media. My grandmother started creating Facebook, for example, right? Everybody uses it, and that's a big enough market. And then number two, is that a big enough problem? That for sure it is, right? You think about ads dominated by Google, dominated by Facebook, but right now we can kind of decentralize the field, and that's only possible on blockchain technology. That's only possible on Web3, and that is super exciting. I think you mentioned SocialFi. Definitely, me personally, super bullish, and that's why we have Lens Protocol on Polygon, for example. Super bullish, and also real world assets. I mean, if you think about the current NFT market and all of our cryptocurrency fungible tokens market, it's just relatively super small. I think it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's more than $1 trillion market, but that is so small compared to the world asset market, right? You talk about real estate, you talk about all kinds of assets, right? Funds, for example, commodities, for example. There's so much value out there in the real world, in the economy, that we can capture and build it, have them as a building blocks if they're on chain. For example, tokenizing certain things on chain, and then being able to build different amazing composable stuff on top. I think, of course, this might sound very far from now, but we don't really know. Sometimes we just need that one moment where everything just explodes because of maybe regulation change, maybe some positive regulation, for example, from a world superpower, and those can kind of supercharge the whole thing, which is super interesting. Like what we're seeing with like large language models with OpenAI and all. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, I think
I hope that answers the question though.
I
Yeah, you did.
just want to chime in because I think this is definitely a very interesting, people talking about what is the next narrative Because I think actually when we talk about Web3 and we talk about adoption, people have so many different metrics, right? When you want to evaluate adoption, because let's say if we talk about, for instance, just recently we're talking about meme coins. Obviously, I think the people have some of these metrics about market valuation and the number of wallet, number of buyers of these meme coins. When actually, I mean, when we talk about the real world kind of values of these meme coins, I think that definitely there's a lot of debate in that sense. So I think because the Web3 space is definitely like, very small and very early, we might have to look at the I think the adoption level from different perspective, like how many, I think DApps built on the platform. Let's say how many. I think as you mentioned, what are some of the solutions that are actually working out there that can help solve real world problems. I think this is definitely something that we would need to, work on, or like there's a lot of debate around it, but at the same time that's the beauty of this space, that it's still evolving, and sometimes a lot of the solutions, they actually kind of precede I think the challenges that we have. I mean, a lot of the problems that we are discussing right now might not have been there when people started building with Web3. So I think definitely there's something that we would have more room to discuss about the building, and what would matter in the future in terms of Web3 products. We have a couple of other questions. I think they're interesting from the audience as well, and it's the kind of, we will need some quick answers from you as well, Kevin, since I think the audience, they are very straightforward in terms of the information that they want. One question from an audience is about what's the best scenario of ZK EVM in terms of TPS and gas fee? What do you think?
I would rephrase that question a little bit, to be honest, because like it's very hard to define what's the best case scenario. For example, it's not the end product yet. You look at Ethereum, the end product today, probably not. So I would say that that would depend on the usage, because it's scaled differently as an L2.
Yeah.
And yeah, do keep updated. Well, do keep follow us as well. We'll provide more updates on that in terms of more updates on the usage and TPS and all that.
Okay. Number 2, are there any specific or exclusive benefits for liquidity related projects that they can get from Polygon ZK EVM?
Yeah, I think if this is from the community, right? You should DM me. Just curious to know what kind of liquidity project. Are you referring to any DeFi protocol?
Yeah.
If yes. Yeah, if that's the case, we can put you in touch with our DeFi team, and we'll kind of figure out like what benefits you're referring to. Maybe there are some support that they can provide in that case, which is the benefits you're referring to. But yeah, do definitely drop me a DM if that's possible.
Is there any kind of standard like support for these DeFi projects, or it's more like on a case-by-case basis?
It will be, from my understanding, it will be more case-by-case basis. Because it really depends on what you need, where you're at, right? It differs from the case-to-case basis. And we can't have a one-size-fits-all because it doesn't make sense for you. For example, we have a package of this. It probably sometimes not too relevant for you, and it's just a waste of your time. What we want to do is really listen to you, understand your problems, and be able to support what you need. And of course, to do that, we have to be specific from both ends that, hey, I have this specific problem, or I have this specific proposal for my project. Can I get Polygon's help on that? That will really help while we figure out, see if we can support on that, what stage you're at, what we can do with you, for example. And it's really a case to case.
Is the hackathon like the best opportunity to work directly with your team to ask for these kind of supports? Or I mean, normally, how would your team be able to scale and address all of these like support requirements from the builders?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you mentioned one thing really important is that obviously we're unable to scale the one-to-one too much, and that's why we have programs like the hackathon happening right now. I'll be able to like send comment the details under this spaces tweet in a bit. I think if you're building anything at all early stage, this is probably a terrific opportunity for you to get exposed to top tier mentors, direct conversation with the teams. And if you happen to be the top five, we're going to fly you out in one mysterious city in APAC and kind of pitch to some of the top VCs in the world and also ecosystem partners, not just VCs you're looking for, but ecosystem partners. And we're going to nurture you along the way, support you, hold your hand, essentially, to help you succeed. Because this is an APAC focused hackathon. We want to find like top
Definitely.
5 top APAC projects out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we definitely is such a thrill to see this APAC focus initiative because definitely we are all here very bullish about APAC. There's another very interesting questions that I think from the audience. So they're asking that a lot of the emerging layer ones like Sui and Aptos are focusing on AAA games. Then are you guys doing the same, or how would you be able to compete with them in the next bull run? Let's say with the gaming arm. Yeah.
That's an interesting one because from our point of view, the market is big enough for everyone to succeed. Because it goes back to my point that I was talking with Phuc just now, is that Web3 is still super small compared to the larger. Gaming on its own is like huge, and we're just barely scratching the surface. However, you look at Polygon's gaming arm. I can't speak for them. Like they're amazing gaming folks in our team. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them. They have done an amazing job. If you talk about onboarding some giant games like NeoWiz, certain giant gaming companies like NeoWiz, for example, and like MapleStory recently, that was huge. And also, we're working with some of the giants like Immutable, in terms of them being a gaming giant. I do see there's enough for everyone, and I'm so happy. I'm happy for them that the different L1s, alternate L1s, are focusing on that as well. However, I think the market is super big. It's enough for everyone to eat. At the same time, Polygon's focus is more towards not just going after these games, but how we make it easy for them, because it goes back to our ethos of helping Ethereum scale. And the experience of building is different. Like the alternate L1s, you gotta use like Move, for example, Rust, different languages. However, for Polygon, it's something most developers are familiar with, and that is kind of like our values and what we focus on. And we think the market is big enough for everyone.
Okay, sounds great. So guys, do send in the questions here. I think we're going to close the questions, the Q&A in the next few minutes. So feel free to either raise your hand. I will invite you to speak up, or you can just drop us a question in this thread. There's actually a question that I think we might be able to rephrase a little bit. So an audience is asking, so is Polygon ZK AVM more about security or performance? Do you think there's a trade-off with ZK AVM between security and performance? Yes.
Interesting one. I mean, the whole idea of a layer 2 rollup is to solve the blockchain trilemma essentially, right? So in this case, security and performance are both we want to pursue at the same time. There's no like specific right now. Performance, I wouldn't say we're there yet, to be honest. But security is 100% dependent on Ethereum today. And then performance, the cool part about it is that we've set a floor this high. And there's so much, it's still super cheap compared to Ethereum, right? Itself. And there's still ways to go. And the team that we have conversations with are already aware of how to go there. And we have a roadmap to reach there. I think it goes back to my point that we ship the most performant prover in the market today. And that is probably arguably the hardest engineering part of it, of the whole big puzzle, right? And then we kind of fill up the puzzle with different increments, improvements along the way. And that's where you can see performance will keep improving along the way. However, having said that, it's not just us too. You gotta look at it as like the upcoming Ethereum updates itself, making data availability a little bit better. It's gonna help the whole layer 2 space, right? Proto dank sharding, for example. We're super excited about that. That's a little bit technical, but that is another thing we're looking forward to. That's gonna supercharge the whole Ethereum ecosystem. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Where we're really looking for both security and performance at the same time. There's no reason to give up any of them.
I think definitely after this, some of the builders here might reach out to you directly, to ask for more details about Polygon and I think the hackathon and the initiative that you mentioned. Some of the questions here, I think, unfortunately, I think our time is running out. So we have some of the questions about the advantages of Polygon versus other L1s. I think you can check out the recording here later because I think we have addressed it enough in this session. So maybe for those of you who are keen to know more about Polygon, about ZK EVM, about some of the supporting initiatives for builders, feel free to reach out to Kevin. Through his handle here. I do believe that we will have a lot of the follow-up conversations after this. This is one of the episode in our series of APAC Builders Community or ABC Station that we are doing, in collaborating with Sotatek, Apac Dao, Metatech, and a lot of the other L1s, which are looking to focus on Southeast Asia and Asia builders community. So I think this is I think our time is, our time is up.